I'd say half the people listening here have gone, oh, you said that word protein, but you're talking about a whole food plant-based diet. Like, where the heck do I get my protein? Like, if I need 15%, if I need it to regenerate all my cells in my body, like, where do I get it from? Like, maybe if you can just, I know, because you could talk about this for the next 2 hours about
and
protein.
This is probably the question we're asked most.
It's like, could you even just touch on that for a minute?
The protein question.
So 60 seconds, protein question
First
with Dr. Alan Desmond.
First of all, I think when people ask that question, it doesn't bother me because it's a really important question, and it's really important to answer that, because where you get your protein is incredibly important, and it's a really important determinant of your health and longevity. So where do I get my protein is incredibly important. And if you get your protein from plants, statistically, you're going to have a healthier life with less risk of common diseases, including Crohn's, colitis, bowel cancer, heart disease. All the studies tell us more plant protein, less animal protein is the key to preventing those conditions from happening. But protein, we think about protein, really what we're thinking about is amino acids. And when we eat any food, our amazing human digestive system goes to work extracting the building blocks that it needs to continue feeding our body and our amazing metabolic processes, and making all the enzymes and hormones and signaling mechanisms and energy in the mitochondria and the neurons. You know, it's like, how do we fuel that whole system? We fuel it with food and oxygen and water. So if you eat any food, your body, specifically for protein, is on the hunt for amino acids. Those are the building blocks of protein. So where do amino acids come from? Amino acids come from plants. So fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and seeds.
Because you hear that expression that all protein comes from plants. And
yeah, that's where it originates, right? So the amino acids is what we're really talking about. So beans and legumes are particularly high in protein content, but there's protein in every plant. I mean, spinach.
Like watermelon.
Even rice.
Even rice, apples, they all contain some protein. And in fact, although I'm not recommending it, but if tomorrow, Dave, you decided that you were just the only thing, I'm going on a spinach only diet. I'm not recommending it, okay? But I'm only going to eat spinach today. I'm going to eat 2,500 calories of spinach.
Oh, sounds awful.
Yeah, you're going to be busy, right?
That's a full day's work.
That's a full day's work, okay?
What you do at work today, Dave?
I ate spinach all day.
A barrel load of spinach.
Yeah, like Popeye, right? But you'll probably get between 70 and 90 grams of protein that day, because there's so much protein per calorie in spinach that you'll get double your protein needs for the day. And then the next day, if you say, okay, I've done the spinach only diet, but then I'm going to do the whole grain rice only diet. I'm only going to eat whole grain rice today. You probably get about 60 or 70 grams of protein that day if you eat sufficient calories. And then the next day you say, okay, I'm only going to eat lentils today. I'm going to do a lentil only day. You probably get about 110 if you eat 2,500 calories, which is what you need. You're a growing boy, fit and active.
I think I need 3,300.
3,300. Yeah, right.
Thing.
Yeah, exactly. But you're going to get about 100 grams of protein that day. But of course,
and how much does the
the average person need about maybe 60 grams of protein per day. So you're going to be eating more protein than you need. Okay.
Wow.
But I've talked about spinach day, lentil day, rice day. But of course, you don't eat like that, but you do eat spinach and rice and lentils and kale and sweet potatoes and mangoes. And all of these foods contain various amounts of protein. And when we look at these studies, like the medical evidence is very clear that individuals who eat a strict vegetarian or vegan diet and eat fruits and vegetables and whole grains and legumes and nuts and seeds, whole plants, and that's where they're getting their calories from, they consume between maybe 70 and 80 grams of protein per day, which is more than enough for any healthy living person. And the top 5% of those individuals consume about 100 grams of protein per day, which is a huge amount of protein, which is twice the amount that the average person would need to consume. So vegans and vegetarians eat enough protein. And not only that, they're getting their protein from plants instead of animals. So if you decide to get your amino acids by eating beef, because now that cow has eaten all those plants, and has eaten all the silage and grass and feed and all that sort of stuff that they're given. And they've gotten their amino acids from that, and they've used those amino acids to make their muscles just like we do. But now instead of eating the plants, we're going to eat their muscles to get their protein. So we're now getting the amino acids through the cow or the chicken or whatever.
So you're almost getting it secondhand by
you get
animal.
you get exactly right, and you're getting it. But you can, I mean, the human digestive system is incredible, right? I mean, there are very few foods that could escape human digestion. You know, we are designed to digest food, and we can digest meat and chicken and all that kind of stuff, and we can extract the amino acids that we need from them. But it's about the package. So now you're getting your protein, but you're getting animal protein, you're getting animal amino acids. So now you're choosing to get your amino acids from foods that are loaded with cholesterol, dietary cholesterol, and are wrapped up in saturated fat. And when you cook that piece of red meat or that piece of chicken, you're exposing it to heat, and you're generating chemicals like polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons and heterocyclic.
How do you remember all these words?
And heterocyclic amines. So these are like, it's like a science experiment. I remember being in medical school, and anyone who's studied organic chemistry will know that if you take a living tissue and it's full of all these chemicals that are biologically active. And, you know, animal hormones are biologically active. I mean, before we had modern drug synthesis, for example, if you had thyroid deficiency, you would be given little pills that were ground up thyroid gland from pigs or cows. Or if the first insulins that were given to people with diabetes were animal insulins, you know, like insulin that was extracted from the pancreas of a pig. So because we're so genetically close to these animals that we eat, the substances, the biologically active compounds that are in those animal products are actually, you know, they interact very nicely with human tissue and human biological systems. So if you take a piece of meat or a piece of chicken or whatever, and you expose it to that kind of heat, it's like a science experiment. You're putting energy into the system. You're generating these new biologically active compounds, including PAHs and HCAs, which when we intake them, they're pro-inflammatory, they're pro-oxidative, they age us, they cause damage. Where you're also getting your protein wrapped up with heme iron.
Oh yeah.
So heme iron is the form of iron that's in animal products. We get non-heme iron when we have black beans. We get heme iron when we have beef. You know, we talked about the beef stew and the bean stew earlier, right? So a lot of people say, oh yeah, but heme iron is way more bioavailable. You absorb it way better. So therefore it must be better for you. But of course, it's not better for you. And we know that the more heme iron you consume, the higher your risk of developing something like bowel cancer or heart disease.
And heme iron you get from animal-based food.
You get from animal. You can only get it by eating other animals. Wow. And it's a pro-inflammatory compound. And just because it's got more in the lab, it's more bioavailable. People will use that as an argument towards eating meat. And the meat industry will say, oh yeah, we got bioavailable iron. You say, yeah, but don't you know that the studies show that the more of that iron that you consume, the more likely you are to have an illness. Or you know, including bowel cancer, etc. And then you're getting your protein wrapped up with other chemicals like sodium nitrites and nitrates that naturally occur in meat and are added to processed meats to make them look pink.
The amount of detail, you know, like I think anyone listening would go, oh my God, like Dr. Alan Desmond, you are so smart. Like, you know so much, and you've come round to a whole food plant-based diet. Like, you know, and like, it's probably, you're not a typical kind of like someone that would go, well, you're like a vegan plant-based kind of guy. Like, you wouldn't like, you know, you studied for, I think it was like 13 or 17. I remember having this chat where you studied for a hell of a long time to become not just a doctor, a consultant gastroenterologist, which takes a long period of time.